In today's video, we continue on with our NHL season preview series. We're working our way through the teams in the Atlantic Division. Today, we look at the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres certainly had a step back last year and currently have one of the longest streaks of not making the playoffs. Will that change this year? Can this team get over the hump and get this team into the playoffs? We'll take a look at what's to expect coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're looking at the Buffalo Sabres and previewing their upcoming 25-26 NHL season. So part of these video series, in case you're new here, we're going to recap a little bit of what transpired last year, take a look at some of the stats, both team and individual, take a look at their salary cap, additions, subtractions, any trades or contract extensions we might see in the near future, some rookies who could have an impact on this lineup. Then we'll look at their projected lineup and the questions around the team going into the season. So let's first start by recapping what happened in 24-25. We saw the Buffalo Sabres not have a good season. They were 7th in the Atlantic, 36, 39-7, 79 points. It was Lindy Ruff's first season as his return to the Sabres behind the bench. Kevin Adams as GM has been there for, over 5 years now. This team was better the year before, but took a step back last year, and it just, you think as soon as you think they're making a step towards getting back into being a more competitive team, a team that can make the playoffs, they have something like this transpire, and it really wasn't pretty in some aspects of the game, but they were pretty good offensively. They scored 266 goals, 10th highest in the NHL. Scoring was not a problem for this team. It was keeping the puck out of their own net was a major issue. They allowed 287 goals, which was 29th in the league. There's not too many teams worse than that, obviously in a 32-team league. So clearly the defensive side of the game, goaltending, like everything that's involved with keeping the puck out of your net is problematic for this franchise. So obviously that was one of the big stories around this team. So like I said, the last time they made the playoffs was 2011, 14 years and counting now out of the playoffs. And not only the last time they made the playoffs was 2011, the last time they won a series, 2007, where they lost in the Eastern Conference Final to the Ottawa Senators. Remember Daniel Alfredsson scoring the winning goal to clinch that series and send Ottawa to the Cup Final against the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, that's how long it's been since the Sabres won a playoff series. We're not far off from 20 years. So things need to change and get better in Buffalo. Their fan base deserves it. They've been more than patient. This team typically has a great fan base. I think a lot of them have been kind of losing their patience a little bit, and understandably so. Now looking at some of the top individual performances last year, Tage Thompson had a really nice season, scored 44 goals, 72 points, big year. Obviously Tage Thompson also went on to represent USA at the World Championships and scored the winning goal to allow the U.S. to win the gold medal at the World Championship tournament for the first time in forever. So a big year for Tage. Dahlin, I thought, had a pretty good year, 68 points last year. JJ Peterka, who's no longer with the team, but he had a big season as well, 68 points. Alex Tuch had 67, and Jason Zucker and Ryan McLeod, who was in his first year as a Sabre, had a nice season as well at 53 points. And of course, near the trade deadline, we saw a pretty significant trade with division rival the Ottawa Senators. We saw them trade Dylan Cousins and Dennis Gilbert to the Senators for Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker. Pretty big trade overall. Obviously, things worked out, I think, for Cousins in Ottawa. I seemed to play better. Norris only appeared in a few games for the Sabres before shutting things down for the rest of the year, which was a little bit surprising when I remember hearing about the injury, that it was something he had been dealing with in Ottawa but was trying to play through. But I guess once he got to the point where he wasn't really in the playoff picture, decided not to, I guess. I really don't know. There really wasn't a lot of information given. But certainly Josh Norris is a pretty good two-way centerman. Him and Cousins both, I think, are pretty good centers, but they play a different style of game for sure. And I know one of the concerns with the Sens for a long time was Norris's ability to stay healthy. But if he can do that, he could be a really good player for Buffalo. Now, going into this season, going into training camp, they still have some salary cap space. They have $5.1 million. Even though they had some uncertainty this year about Bo Byram, he was one of the big names in the trade rumor mill. He ended up re-signing for 2 years at $6.25 million. So, obviously, he ended up remaining with the team. A lot of people thought he would end up getting moved, but the future is still a little murky with him, and hard to say where things play out where he only signed a 2-year deal. Now let's take a look at the additions and the subtractions around how this team has changed. Starting with the subtractions, like I said, the big one, JJ Peterka, who had a really good season last year for the Sabres. I think they're going to have a tough time replacing all those goals that he provided for them. So that's the big one. Of course, he ended up basically forcing his way out via trade, ended up going to Utah. Of course, they got some pieces back, which we'll talk about on the addition side. And they get some good players, but it's one thing that I'm not sure those players are going to give them, at least in the first year, is the same amount of goals. So I think from a goal-scoring perspective, they might be a little bit less potent that way, but we'll see as we get into the lineup here. Jacob Bernard-Docker, even though he came along with Norris from that trade with Ottawa, did not stick around. He was not qualified as a restricted free agent, which was, to me, surprising. I thought he played relatively well in the small sample size of games at the end of the year that he got with Buffalo, but they chose not to bring him back, so he's moved on. Connor Clifton also not returning for the Sabres either. Now, the new additions to the team, they brought in a number of forwards and defensemen, as well as a goaltender, and Justin Danforth at forward comes in via free agency. Josh Doan was one of the players back from Utah in the Peterka trade. Sam Lafferty comes back to the Buffalo Sabres. He's played there before. And, of course, on the back end, they got Zach Jones, who came over from the Rangers, who was not qualified, became a free agent. Michael Kesselring was one of the players involved with the Peterka trade with Utah as well. Connor Timmins comes over. And then Alex Lyon between the pipes. So the goaltending should be a little deeper for sure. The players they added, like the getting Doan and Kesselring back for Peterka, I like both players. I think Kesselring will be a pretty good player to help stabilize the right side of their blue line, but Josh Doan has potential too, but I don't know that he's going to be a real high-end forward. I don't know that he's going to be able to score anywhere near the clip that Peterka did last year. So as much as I do like the players involved, I think from an offensive standpoint, they will take a step back with what's there now versus what they had with JJ Peterka. As far as rookies that could have an impact throughout the year and get a chance to play, Isaac Rosen. Rosen got 55 points in the AHL last year. I can see him getting more of a chance this year. Noah Ostlund also put up 19 goals and over 35 points in the AHL last year. I can see Ostlund getting an opportunity. I do wonder about Konsta Helenius as well, a recent first-rounder. I'm not sure where he's playing this year, but he will be another one. We want to watch his development for sure because he does have a lot of potential and could be an important player for the Sabres down the road. As far as players who could maybe be traded from this team, some names to watch. I still wonder for the long-term future of Byram. They won't necessarily, rush into a trade. They'd have no reason to. He's signed. He did play, I think, relatively well during his time last year. Played a lot of minutes, so maybe things work out and he ends up signing an extension. He won't be able to do that until next year, but maybe things work out. But it's still uncertain given the short-term nature of his contract. Obviously, Samuelson on the back end's another name to watch. A lot of rumors that they might want to find a new home for him, that they were looking for, to kind of change things up that way. And I do wonder, with the addition of Alex Lyon, we know Devin Levi's, still kind of viewed upon as maybe being the goalie of the future here, about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He had a down season last year. I don't necessarily think they're going to rush out and trade him, but I just wonder about the future there and if there's any possibility he could be a player to watch. As far as extensions go, the main one to watch here coming up is Alex Tuck. I think the odds of them getting something done with Tuch are pretty good. Tuch is from the area. It's a hometown team for him. He's made it known he loves playing there, and I don't think they'll have too much of an issue getting that done as long as they can be in the same stratosphere on what they think the contract should look like. So Tuch will be the main one to watch here. Kesselring, who just came over, is also eligible for an extension. I suspect they'll want to see him play a little bit first, but maybe partway through the season, if things are going well for him, I can see the Sabres looking to extend that contract. And Zach Benson's rookie contract will be coming to an end. He could be a player to watch as well for an extension. So looking at their expected lineup going into the season, they're not going to carry 3 goaltenders, but you're going to see Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Alex Lyon most likely be your NHL tandem, with Devin Levi holding down that number 3 spot. Will likely be the starter at the AHL and be called upon on occasion should the other 2 guys run into any injuries. So that's not overly shocking. The Lyon has been pretty decent. Not a star by any means, but certainly capable for sure. So I think there's a potential for the goaltending to be in good shape, but the big wild card here is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who will play the most, right? So we'll see where that goes. On the blue line, you're looking at a top 4 of Byram, Dahlin, Power, and Kesselring, along with your third pair most likely being Samuelson and either Timmins or Jones. One will be number 6 and play in the third pair. One will be likely the number 7 player and will have to end up, not being a regular in the lineup, or maybe they switch often. We'll see. Depends on how much, they focus on the lefty-righty matchups. And also, I wouldn't completely rule out Samuelson being moved at some point. So we'll see there. As far as the forwards goes, I suspect you're going to see the top line of Josh Norris with Tage Thompson and maybe either Benson or Zucker, probably Zucker on the other side. I know Thompson can play center, but he was playing on the wing with Norris after that trade happened, and that seemed to be a combination that they were trying to build chemistry with and wanted to see kind of work. So I suspect they'll go back to that. I mean, they can move Thompson to the middle if they feel like that's best for the team, but ultimately we'll see where it goes. Your next line likely is going to have guys like Tuch, maybe Yuri Kulich, and either Benson or Zucker, whoever doesn't play in that first line. I think you're probably going to see Zucker, Norris, Thompson, Benson, Kulich, Tuch. That's a possibility. Your third line, to me, is probably going to be a line that's a little bit younger, pretty good speed, and could be dangerous. But Ryan McLeod will likely center that third line with Jack Quinn and possibly Josh Doan. We'll see. I mean, Quinn's a player that you need to step up and help replace goals that are lost from Peterka. Quinn makes the most sense. Hopefully, if you can get more out of Quinn, more out of Benson, then that might come close to offsetting what they lost in Peterka. That would be important. Your fourth line is going to be a combination of probably Peyton Krebs being the centerman with Jordan Greenway and either Sam Lafferty, Beck Ballantyne. Those are your bottom forwards. They're going to be fighting for those number 4th line jobs, and one of them will end up being the 13th forward, and that could change depending on how things go in training camp, of course. But the big questions around this team for me is, can they cut down on the goals against without sacrificing too much of the offense? Because this team was brutal with giving up goals last year. Like I said, 287 reasons to be focusing on playing better team defense and hopefully getting better goaltending. So clearly, like I said, you want to keep what you have offensively, which is hard to do, mind you, when you put a strong defensive focus on them. But I mean, largely, like, the blue line is not a whole lot different outside of Kesselring. 5, you get, 4 of your top 5 defensemen are the same. 2 of your 3 goaltenders are the same. Not much change in the forward group outside of the Peterka exchange with Doan coming in. So, it's not really a drastically different looking team. So can they play better defense is a big, big question. And if it does cause to sacrifice the offense, that could be a problem. We'll see. But can they replace the goals from Peterka? Like I said, the only way they're going to be able to do that is you need guys like Benson and Quinn, ideally, to improve and to step up and to score more. And you have to hope that Josh Doan coming in can give you a decent amount as well. So if you get improvements out of the other two guys, and Doan, even gets you, a decent amount, like maybe between the three of them, if they can all give you like an extra, 25, 30 goals, and maybe it kind of offsets. We'll see. Goaltending's a big question mark for me as well. Like I said, can UPL bounce back? How much will Lyon play? How much will Levi be in the minors? It's a really big question for this franchise. I mean, ultimately, looking at the division, can they end the streak of 14 years? It's the biggest question of all. And I'm not sure. I mean, because if you look at the 5 teams in the Atlantic that made the playoffs last year, can you see the Buffalo Sabres being better than any of those 5? And the answer is I don't think so. It's hard to say. But, I mean, at the same time, I do like this roster on paper. Like, there's a lot to be optimistic about. But it just hasn't been able to get it done. Now, it's a little bit different than it was last year or the year before that. So we will see. I can see them being better than Boston. I can see them maybe competing or being better than Detroit. But can they be up there with Ottawa and Montreal like those two teams who went to playoffs last year? That's going to be the true test for them. If they can do that, maybe they stay in the mix and hang around closer to for a playoff spot. I'd love to see them get in. It's just hard to imagine which teams they can surpass to be able to do that. Now, I know there's some teams and some people out there that think that Montreal overachieved last year, having a minus 20 goal differential. I don't know. I mean, with the changes they've made, even if they did overachieve a bit last year, I can certainly see them improving enough that it's not going to be as much of a problem this year. So, can they be better than them? Honestly, I'm not sure. It's hard to say yes. So it's really hard to say with any kind of certainty that they will end that streak and become a playoff team. But they do have a lot of good pieces here, and I do think that they will be a potential to have a really good competitive team, and we'll see where it goes. But ultimately, they have a lot to overcome to get into the playoffs here, in my opinion. But I do like them to make the playoffs more so than like Boston and Detroit. I just don't know that they can overcome some of the other teams that were playoff teams last year. But let me know what you think down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.